This is kind of a rather odd question. How many of us have a best friend? I mean, we all do, right? We all have a best friend, someone that we hang out with more than others on a normal basis. Even Sunday mornings, we have those that we kind of flock to, we tend to stay with and talk to on a weekly basis that we might look over and say hi to someone else, but that's our group. That's our group of our. I don't want to use clique, but that's who we click well with. That's who we're with. But my question is, do these relationships, do these friendships cause us issue? Do they cause us issue and get in between what God is calling us to do? Do they kind of block us from reaching those that He sends us, maybe for healing or a comforting word? And it kind of sounds a little really far off base or far off the mark. How can a friendship get in the way of God? How can our relational preference change how I share the gospel? Well, let's look at what James has to say about it. We're going to look at James 2, and we're going to see if our relationships, our friendships, maybe fit into his warning. James 2 starts out and says, "My dear brothers and sisters, how can you claim to have faith in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ if you favor some people over others? For example, suppose someone comes into your meeting," when he says meeting, he means the synagogue, comes into the church, comes into our home of meeting. Suppose someone who comes into your meeting dressed in fancy clothes and expensive jewelry, and another comes in who is poor and dressed in dirty clothes. If you give special attention to the good and a good seat to the rich person, but you say to the poor one, "You can go stand over there or sit on the floor," doesn't this discrimination show that your judgments are guided by evil motives? Listen to me, dear brothers and sisters. Hasn't God chosen the poor in the world to be rich in faith? Aren't they the ones who will inherit the kingdom He promised to those who love Him? But you dishonor the poor. Isn't it the rich who oppress you and drag you into the courts? Aren't they the ones that slander Jesus Christ, whose noble name you bear? Yes, indeed, it is good when you obey the royal law as found in the Scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you favor some people over others, you are committing a sin. You are guilty of breaking the law. For the person who keeps all the laws except one is as guilty as the person who has broken all of God's laws. For the same God who said you must not commit adultery also said you must not murder. So if you murder someone but do not commit adultery, you have still broken the law. So whatever you say or whatever you do, remember that you will be judged by the law that sets you free. There will be no mercy for those who for those who have not shown mercy to others. But if you have been merciful, God will be merciful when He judges you. Does this scripture fit us? Does it fit us as a church? Does it fit us as an individual? And that's a personal question for you. I'm not asking you to say, yeah. Do we see a new face and maybe eye them up, judging them? How do they look? Maybe how do they smell? I mean, come on. Sometimes people have an odor and you're like, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to talk to them. Don't make eye contact because they may want to talk to us. Do we do that? Do we say to ourselves, that's someone I want to meet? Or, do we play favoritism? Do we see a newcomer come through the doors and we're talking to our group, our friends? Do we look up like, yeah, I don't want to go over there? Or do we graciously stand up and go, hey, how are you? Welcome. Do you guide them to a seat? Do you welcome them in and say, hey, why don't you come sit with me? Or do we look across the room and say, there's an empty seat way over there. Go sit over there. Do we do this based on appearance, based on our first impression of them? Do we look at people and make a judgment without getting to know them? Last night, while at camp, talking to one of our people, tells me, well, I'm trying not to associate with the girls. One of our leaders. I'm here for the guys and the guys only. That's why I'm here. And it was late last night when we were talking about it, and I kind of looked at him going, that doesn't fit, but I'm already checked out and ready for sleep. I'm not able to connect. This morning, I was thinking about it. I'm like, that's like me telling you that I'm not going to talk to anyone in the congregation unless they're 35 to 37. That's it. If they don't fit that age bracket, I'm not talking to you. I'm not going to associate with you. I'm not going to speak to you. I may not even look at you. Yeah, I cut Marcy out of that. But that's the kind of sense that makes. I cut 90% of the congregation out, right? If I only look at this age bracket and say, this is all I'm going to talk to, this is my favorite comfort zone, which we all know that's not true. I talk to everyone. But I'm trying to limit where God's wanting to work based on my own personal preference. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying I'm only going to talk to people in this age range. I'm only going to talk to my favorite people. I'm only going to associate with my favorite people. And the people that I want to be around, I'm not limiting or trying to limit what God can do. There may be someone, going back to last night, there may be someone in the girl's side that need to hear what he has to say. But he's put a limit. I'm not associating with them because I'm here for these people. It's exactly what James is talking about. Favoritisms, or our preferences. We can say, yeah, we don't want this or we don't want that, and we want to keep ourselves separated for this personal reason or that personal reason. But when it comes down to it, we're alienating people. We're telling them that we don't want them to be part of us. We don't want them to share with us. We don't want them to be a part of our lives if we're not reaching out to them. James is warning us about this. If you go into most congregations, most churches today, you will see an empty church, for the most part. You can go into the grandest church in the area and find a handful of people. There's seating capacity for 400 and you got 10. Why? Because we don't know how to talk to other people, because we see them come in and we disassociate, we separate from them right away. Because based on their appearance, oh, they got kids, I don't want to deal with noisy kids, I want to sit over here. Or, I don't like the way they're dressed. I don't want to talk to them. We base our judgment on appearance. We don't even give them a chance to speak. And sometimes when they do speak, it's kind of, I don't like what they have to say. We don't give mercy. We don't give grace. We don't love them. We become hypocrite. Because when you first walk in anywhere, this isn't just a church, but this is anywhere. You walk into a party, family get together. If you're not greeted by at least 3 people, you feel like you're being shunned at the party, right? You feel like nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants you there. How do you think people feel when they walk through those doors and They hear the greeter's voice for a couple seconds, and that's the only voice they hear. How do you think people feel when you're out in public and you see them and, hey, how you doing? Or they see you and they see you go like, did they see me? We disassociate with people based on our own personal judgment, our own personal feelings. We're not supposed to do that according to Scripture. We separate. And we do not act as we are taught. We act as society has taught us, and it's been indoctrinated into the church for years. Society has crept in, and we have allowed it to creep in. Little bits, little pieces at a time. We've allowed the church to tell us it's okay to disassociate with these people because they're sinners. The Pharisees told Jesus not to eat with them. They're sinners. What did Jesus do? He went and ate with them. We disassociate with people because of the way they look or because of their financial status or what have you. Because it doesn't look good for us. We look out and we see all this. And then we question. Both as an individual and a church. We question, why do I feel alone? Why are our seats empty? Why? It's because we make a judgment on people. Now, don't get me wrong. Paul says we are allowed to judge fellow believers. Now, let me clarify that. If you claim to know who Christ is and you are living in sin, we as fellow believers have the right to call you out on that. That's the judgment right that we have. That's our authority. But someone walking down the street a streetwalker, let's go there. Someone who's standing on a street corner looking to make money. We will sit and judge that person not knowing a bit of their life. We just know they're living in sin, so we make a judgment. We don't want to associate with them. We don't want to talk to them. Yet we claim to know Christ, who would be standing there talking to them. And we're going, nope. I don't want anyone to see me talking to them. Because then I look bad. We go against the teachings of Christ every day. He sought out the poor and the broken. He sought out the sinner. He looked for them. And he hung out with them. We don't because we're selfish. We think of our own image, our own appearance. And it's an evil thought that's placed in our head because we have a negative thought. Or a negative understanding of what's going on. So it becomes an evil thought, scripturally. We separate ourselves. We insult God by shunning someone that was made in His image. It goes against the biblical definition of love. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you can't talk to that person that's standing on the street corner, are you telling me you hate yourself? We can't show mercy through that, which makes us a hypocrite. Because if we're in that situation and we see someone walk out these doors, say someone is standing right out here on the street corner, and we walk out the doors and we turn our head and walk the other direction, and they're hoping that someone will come and speak to them. does that relationship, that comfort zone that we want, that buffer zone, get in the way of what God has asked us to do? To spread the gospel. To share who He is. To share what He is. I want you to ask yourself that question today. Do my relationships, do my comfort zones get in the way of sharing the Word? Does it change the way I talk to people or who I talk to? Do I put limits on what God can do? Because it makes me uncomfortable. Think of Ananias. Jesus comes to Ananias in a vision and says, "Go to Paul." Not me, Lord. I'm not going to Paul. Paul's going to kill me. He kills all Christians. He is sworn to do that. And the Pharisees and the synagogue and the temple have said, "Go for it." I ain't going to him. Are we going to be Ananias, who eventually did go? Let's not forget that. But he argued about it. Or are we going to say, "Yes, Lord, send me"? Because Ananias was hesitant to go. Paul stood there like, "All right, what do you want me to do, Lord? They beat me, they threw me out into the street to die. Go back in." Okay. Who are you going to be? Which example are you going to follow? Because the more you follow Ananias and the hesitation, the easier it is to hesitate. The easier it is to kind of, I don't know if I need to go there. Thankfully, he did. Thankfully, he went and did what God had asked him to do. Because if he didn't, Paul wouldn't have gone and started so much ministry. Are our relationships in the way of God? Is our comfort in the way of God? Because if we let our relationships get in the way of God, as James says, we're sinning. We're picking favoritisms. We're picking our favorites. And I'm not saying quit talking to your friends. I'm saying we need to watch how we do things. Be aware that we're shunning people and try to stop that. Ask yourself, is my relationship getting in the way of God? Is my comfort stopping me from doing His work? Does it keep me separated from those that He's sending me? Think about that as we pray. And while we're praying, don't forget that if this is you, if you recognize this in yourself, that is you right now. As we just read a little bit ago, leave that behind. We can drop that. And we can walk out of here someone totally different than who we were coming in. We want to put the past behind us and move forward, keep moving towards the goal. So if that is you, and you're ready, lay it down. If you need to come and kneel at the altar, come do that. But lay it down and move forward. So let's pray. Father, we come to you this morning, and I just ask you, speak into our hearts, that if we are separating ourselves, if we are moving towards what we like instead of what you've called us to do, I ask that you just show us that right now. Show it clearly to us what we're doing wrong and why it's wrong, Lord. And just speak into our lives and show us the way out. Show us how to get around that and move forward and closer to you. Sometimes we don't recognize what we're doing. Sometimes we don't understand it. Sometimes we don't get it. And I just ask that you open our eyes right now. So Father, as we come to you this morning, I just ask that you give us a peace in our hearts, joy in our step, and give us the courage to speak your word to everyone without fear, without hesitation, without prejudging the situation. Father, I ask that the peace of Christ be in us, that his words flow through us. And we ask it in his name. Amen.